apparently my eyes can heal things that aren't supposed to be healed. So that's more impressive in my mind.
Wait, what do you mean by that?
I got a traumatic cataract in my fight in last February, and apparently it's gone, and they're not supposed to heal. So,
Wow.
Like the hair's one thing, but healing a cataract is it's pretty impressive if you ask me.
So you're a pretty dangerous man, then, I take it.
Apparently I've got a healing factor like Wolverine, so it's there's something going on.
So welcome back. Can you just talk to me about the matchup? What were your first thoughts when you got the name?
I was supposed to fight Gabriel back in February of last year. So when his name popped up, it was there's no thought involved. I'd already prepared for him for quite a while. Actually, I had a lot of lead up to that fight in February, almost too much, to the point where I ended up hurting myself. And dealing with something and creating bad habits, and not having a good night when I finally did step in the octagon. So, having prepared for him, it was pretty easy. And when I talked to Sean, he's like, "Hey, we'll get through this fight, and then you'll be right on track for 300." So, it was a no-brainer.
Is it weird to have a fight but already be kind of looking at the next fight and knowing at least when it is? Is that unique, or has that happened before in your career?
It's unique, yeah. It's never happened before for me. So it's fun because it puts a little extra pressure on me, which I do enjoy. I like that feeling. So yeah, it's I haven't entertained any of the who do you want to fight and this and that. That is completely out of my mind at this point. Like I haven't even played with those ideas. But yeah, it's cool to know that, like, hey, like, we're going to get through this fight, and who knows, it could be an easy night, it could be a tough night, and I could be banged up and this and that. And then it's like, well, you're going to get right back into the fight camp. And I fucking love that. I'm here to fight. And I know that I've been around for a long time, and I've had the ups and downs and this and that, but like, man, I love to fight. So knowing that I'm going to get a quick turnaround is awesome. I mean, the last time I've had a turnaround like this is back in 2017, right? I fought at UFC 200, and then it was like 6 days later, Joe Silva called me up to fight Joe Lozon again in 2016. It was it's cool. It's cool to be active and know that I'm going to be active because I haven't fought since June. I like to fight. I want to keep doing this, and like, there's a lot of miles on my body, and I'm definitely an older lightweight, and I know that, like, that every day that goes by, that it adds up. It doesn't get any easier. So my goal is to get in as many as I can until I decide that, like, hey, it's too hard to get through fight camp. Really is the thing. Like, the fights are kind of the easy part. It's silly to think about, but that daily grind is the difficult part, and I'm still able to get through it and still able to show up and be a dangerous man. And as long as that's happening, I'm going to keep doing it.
Knowing that you have to get right back into fight camp, is that going to change how you are going to fight? I feel like I know the answer to this question.
Absolutely fucking not. Yeah, no, it's I've got one task ahead of me, and and that's going out and beating Gabriel in a violent way, and being the guy that I'm known to be. So, if I go out and I fight the way that I can and the way that I'm supposed to, and that forces me out of 300, well, so be it. I would rather that happen than be conservative, because that's never been who I am, and as soon as that happens, I know that it's time to hang them up. So, like, I'm not going to do that.
You mentioned that you may be over prepared for that the first time that you guys were matched up. Did this preparation go differently because of that, or was that just something that you've now adjusted for all your fight camps?
It was one of those things. So I think the longest heads up for a fight for that February fight than I've ever had. Like, I main evented on Fox, and I had less time to prepare than I did for that one. I think I had like almost 4 months. I have this really difficult thing to deal with, which is like when I'm training, there's only, I mean, it's hard to have more than one speed. And like, I'm like, well, I know I should be doing everything. I know I should be doing this. I know I should be, grappling. I know I should be hitting pads. I know I should be sparring. I should be doing all this stuff. And I can't do it at the same intensity for 4 months or 3 months. So I have to like throttle myself back and really like tell myself like, hey, just like, let's be in shape, let's be ready. And then the last 6 weeks, then we dive in and we go hard. The last time I was just like, I was training, there was a lot of stuff going on, renovating bathrooms, doing this and that. And it's like, and it was just one of those silly things. And like, I've seen some people comment like on the post about me fighting on 300, and like, well, what if he gets hurt? I hurt myself leading up to that fight, bending over in the kitchen to pick up a piece of a wrapper that was on the floor. 9 o'clock at night, felt tight, was sore, just bent over too fast, and I put a decent tear in my patellar tendon. It was audible. Like, my wife's like, what the fuck was that? Like, I had to walk it off. And then I spent the next, 8-9 weeks wearing knee braces from the time I woke up in the morning to the time I went to bed, at wrestling matches and basketball games and all that stuff. Not only on the mat. Like, if I was out of bed, I was wearing them. So I was walking around like an old man. I was training like an old man, and I fought like an old man. So, like, I know that those types of things can happen at any time. And it might have been a little bit of, everything going on. It might have been that I dove in a little too early in my training and had been going too hard too soon. So like, I prefer that like 5, 6, 7 weeks of hard stuff, and I can maintain conditioning and strength in the meantime, and pedal to the floor, for a month and a half.
And he hasn't fought in about a year. Mm-hmm. Do you take into consideration all the improvements he could have made in that year that nobody's seen?
Yeah.
And also ring rust. Is that something that you think is even a real thing?
Ring rust is definitely a thing. I'm not gonna bank on it. And that's one of the things that I look at when I'm training. I a couple of these interviews that I've done recently, I bring up Tony, right? Huge fan of his. I think that his run, his 12-0 run that he had, was the most impressive streak that we have seen in MMA or in the UFC, because he was fighting at the top of the lightweight division, which is always the most competitive division for whatever reason. And he was dominating in violent fashion the top guys, the Pettis and Cerrone and all these guys. Like, it was Barboza, like, and just beating the tar out of them. And like, now he's on a skid, and I see people saying like, hey, he's got to remember who you are, and like what you did and this and that. And it's like, no, like, Tony of today is not Tony of 2018. Like, they're not the same guy. Like, I'm not the same guy that I was in 2010. So when I train today, I train differently. I have a hierarchy of things that I'm looking to do. It's like, be healthy is number one, and then it's be in shape, and then it's be sharp at what I'm good at, like be hitting pads, be drilling my good submissions and stuff like that. And like, the last thing is worried about what my opponent brings to the table. So like, yeah, like Gabriel, we don't know what he's improved. The last film we have is from over a year ago, so he could be a completely different fighter. So I'm not going to prepare for a guy that the last film I have is, 14 months ago or whatever it is. Like, I'm preparing for the best in the world, and if he doesn't keep up to that, then I'm going to find my opportunities and I'm going to put them away. And that's the way that I look at it. And I've made the mistake in the past of doing that, of preparing for what somebody was, and like before I fought Gray, he threw looping punches. Every right hand that he threw was an overhand. And we come into the fight and it's straight right down the pipe. Bang! And then the next one, bang, breaks my nose. And it's like, shit. like where'd this come from, And like I made a mistake. I made a couple mistakes going into that one. So I learned from it, believe it or not. Today it's about being the best me that I can be when I step into the octagon and, not really worrying about him. He's tough. He's dangerous. I like the way he fights. I think it matches up well with me. I'm excited for the fight, and that's all I'm really worried about. Just he's going to be standing across the octagon from me, trying to take my head off, and I'm going to try to do the same thing to him.
And last one for me. I know you said you don't have an opponent in mind for UFC 300, but do you have an idea or a dream of what you'd like to see as the main event for UFC 300? Maybe put your fan goggles on for a minute.
As the main event, I don't know. Yeah, that's a tough one, especially because they keep building 299.
I was going to say it could be unrealistic.
Dude, 299 is epic. I'm not really sure. Yeah. All right. Yeah. The only thing that I could say is that I'm going to start a petition, and I don't know if he's going to do it, but I want Bruce to introduce me as Jim fucking Miller at UFC 300.
That is fantastic. That's fantastic.
How many signatures we getting, right?
This might be silly, but like, do you ever think about like, you were on this 3-fight win streak, finishing people, then you're supposed to fight Gabriel, he pulls out, you lose. So like, does that give you motivation? Like you pulled out and I lost the fight that we were supposed to fight.
Not really. Like it's a different fighter. Like I said, that was not an easy camp for me. I went into that fight and I fought slow and, wasn't dynamic, and that's exactly how I was in training. Who knows what could have happened? Like, we could have fought, he could have beat me. We could have fought, I could have beat him. Who knows? But the fortunate thing is that we get our opportunity on Saturday and go out and see who's the better man on January 13th of 2024, because it's a different night than what it would have been in February.
And I like how you mentioned Tony and that epic streak. What would you like to see him do? Like, obviously you don't want to tell another fighter what to do with their career, but like, do you think it's time for him to hang it up, or like, what do you think?
That's not up for me to say. I don't know Tony. I'm not close to him. That's for his family, his coaches, his training partners. If they feel that way, they should be voicing that to him. I'd love to see him go out on a win. I really would. I'd love to see him. I'd love to see the like I said, I see people saying like, remember who you are, and that's like, no, like I'd love to see him find what makes him dangerous today, in 2024, and go out and fight that way. Because he's not a young kid anymore. So like, use the experience, but like you can't fight as reckless as you did. Shit. The Gaethje fight, he's doing great. The Chandler fight, he's doing great. Like, he had his moments with Patty, and he had his moments with everybody that he's lost against recently. Like, he's still there. It's still there. It's just he has to figure out how to you know, not necessarily change, but like, you know, take the strengths that he's still got and mold them into something new that is effective in the octagon today. And it might not be there, unfortunately. That might be it. You know, like the things that made him so great might have only been, you know, he was only able to capitalize on when he was a young man. That might be it too. But yeah, I don't know. I just I'd love to see him, you know, go on with a W.
What do you think of, I mean, speaking of another lightweight killer that's been around forever, Dustin Poirier, taking on a young killer, Benoit Saint Denis. Like, what do you think of his decision to do that?
I like it. I like the fight. You know, I understand why some of the guys are, you know, really picking fights and this and that, right? Like, obviously, if you're making pay-per-view points or this or that, you obviously want to sell well, but like time is a commodity, and like it, you know, the hourglass that we have as fighters and athletes, like it speeds up, right? Like once it starts to slip and it starts to go, it goes a lot faster. So taking those extended layoffs, I don't know if it has there's a benefit to it. I mean, maybe if you're really picking your fights and stuff like that, but like, you know, once those reflexes start to go, they go, and like maybe you can drag it out, but like Dustin's awesome. I love watching him fight. I think this is a great fight. I think it's a dangerous fight, and I'm excited to watch that one.
And then finally for me, I don't know if you saw this, but Anthony Smith said that you have a 50-50 chance to beat Brock Lesnar. Mm-hmm. Do you agree with that?
Of course. Yeah. You know, I'm glad he throws me in there, but you know, yeah, like so as a fighter, right? You know, like years ago, Ronda said, you know, she thinks she could beat Kane, and that's a difficult fight, right? But the mentality has to be there. You have to, like, when you start walking to the octagon, it is the loneliest place on the planet, right? Like, I firmly believe in training like you're an up-and-comer. Training like the guy that, you know, that you're fighting is better than you, and they're doing more than you, and they're doing it better than you are. But the moment that it's fight day and you have to be the most confident person on the planet. And yeah, like it'd be scary as shit. but you know, I'm going to walk to that octagon, you know, hopefully knowing that my bank account's going to get a big bump. Like, hey, you know, like we're going to take this. And the thing of it is I've trained with plenty of heavyweights through the years. I mean, my team now is a little bit smaller than me. But like, I don't like to bring up, you know, like, because training is training, and you know, I'm not a fan of keeping score, you know. But I've trained with plenty of like heavyweight world champ grapplers and stuff like that, and I've subbed them out. So I know that like if I can isolate something, I could Kimura Brock Lesnar. I know that I could, because I can lift enough, you know, like I get deadlift over 500 pounds. I can straighten the guy's arm. He can't single arm curl 500 pounds. So it's about isolating and stuff like that. It's gonna suck, but I don't want to be underneath them, you know. Yeah, I appreciate the push, but you know, yeah, we'll take it 50-50.
Well, speaking of just save 300, I mean,
Yep.
I guess a two-part question. I mean, it's so funny you thought about for so long trying to get on this card. Now it's just around the corner.
Yeah.
How special does it feel to be good? Your body looks good. You're fighting well. It's right around the corner. And then if you do get on that 300 card, which I know you will, does it matter the opponent? Does it have to be a super stellar name, or is it just any name? Because I know that's not going to be the end for you, but since it's such a big moment, do you want it to be like a stellar opponent, or does any good matchup work for you, just as long as you're on the card?
I would like it to be. I would like it to be an interesting fight. I'd like it to be a fight that people are like, yeah, like this is an awesome one, you know. And honestly, I don't know if there's a lot of guys like at lightweight that works with. I might have to go up to 70s, and I'm 100% with that. It's cool that it's right around the bend. I didn't know I'd make it. You know, like it was years ago that I was like, hey, you know, 300, like let's drag myself to that finish line. And it's like, here I am, you know, 4-1 in my last 5, four finishes, performing. So like, yeah, the goalposts have moved for me, but yeah, it's cool that it's like finally here. Cause I mean, I think it was like, you know, maybe 19 or something like that I brought it up the first time. Like it was a ways away. So yeah, it's neat that it's finally here. I was honestly expecting it to be like they were gonna play with the timing a little bit and push it back to International Fight Week, but so it's a couple months prior to what I thought it would be. But you know, yeah, it's neat that it's finally here, and it's awesome that I have made it and have been performing the way I've been performing and feel the way I feel, and you know, it's pretty cool.
I love it. I feel like we've seen your hairstyles go through many ways. Who knows what it'll be for 300? I think it looks fantastic.
Thank you. This is bedhead, actually. So, you know.
Let's go with the bedhead.
Yep. All right, thank you.